The reason I'm presenting this topic is because Material Ledger, I've been doing SAP FICO for over 15 years. And Material Ledger I started doing maybe 10 years ago. And it's one of those tools in SAP a lot of people are still scared to implement, even though it doesn't require any additional application. The setup for Material Ledger is not even that complicated. But just the two things, maybe two or three things I keep hearing is, one is the discipline it takes to use Material Ledger. I've heard some things about performance, not that many, but that also factors in sometimes. And understanding what Material Ledger does once it's been implemented. That seems to be the biggest thing that I've found, particularly in the last 5 years, is that even companies that do have Material Ledger, they still don't get what it is doing or get a lot of the logic. They get some of the fundamentals, but they don't understand what the system is trying to do. So I'm hoping that the way I've set up this presentation, I'm hoping whether you're a beginner and you know absolutely nothing about it, or you're using it, or you've been using it for a few years, but there's just some things that don't make sense. I'm hoping I clear that up with this session.